Hey guys, so welcome to Let's Talk. So, if you're still not familiar with the segment, basically what I do in this type of segment is I basically talk about something that's really been on my mind, and I just want to share with you guys. So, yeah, in this segment, I basically talk about something that I really want to talk about, and you guys could uh comment your input in the comments or talk to me on Twitter about it. Yeah, so that's basically how it works. If you're a fan of the segment, make sure to watch the previous videos and yeah, continue watching this segment. And yeah, okay, to start off, let's talk about Solskjaer. I know this is the second video you've probably seen uh, in this particular segment where I've been talking about Solskjaer, but what can we do? He's such a big topic. So today I'm going to be talking about three things Solskjaer has fixed at Man United and three things he needs to work on. So the very first thing that Solskjaer has fixed at Man United, and it's kind of one of the biggest things that any manager coming in needed to fix at this club, it's transfer and recruitment. Now, before Solskjaer came, our strategy in terms of transfer and recruitment was to basically buy uh, players that have actually achieved things in their careers, players with huge marketing values, or players that have a connection to agents that we are regularly in touch with. Now, this strategy was completely whack. Let's be honest. And now we could point the fingers at wherever we choose to. Woodward. But that's not really going to solve anything. So, how have we fixed that? Now, under Solskjaer, we have actually managed to change our transfer strategy, and we might not have a technical director or a director of football, but some of the things that we've done in terms of the shape of the transfer team has kind of filled the void for a director of football or a technical director. In the past, uh, you would often hear fans complain about the fact that we're signing players based on marketing appeal and not the footballing ability. Well, that's one thing that has changed, and that's partly down to the fact that the new transfer team that we that basically exists now at Old Trafford, they're more focused on football than the marketing side. They let the marketing guys handle the marketing side, and they focus mostly on football. So that's partly why we're seeing players come in like Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Bruno, Daniel James. These guys don't have any marketing appeal, but the way they performed on the pitch, that's been one of the reasons why we've switched to this strategy. And I think this is going to be a very effective strategy going forward. Now, in the past, we would often go for players like Gareth Bale, James Rodriguez, and even Sergio Ramos. But let's face it, even though those players are very good, none of them were ever going to come to Man United and um, make us a team to challenge for league titles and stuff because they were literally at their last stage of their careers. I say that as we're most of these guys are still playing. But yeah, you get the point. So when we decided to go for Bastian Schweinsteiger, that itself was a bad move because we were very foolish to think that uh, he could change our fortunes around, which is obviously not the case because he was clearly in his last stage of his career. Now that we're going for players that are much younger and more determined to actually succeed in their careers, that's actually a better move because you're gonna see these guys grow up with each other, develop together, and that's gonna help us be more successful on the pitch than going for players that are near their end of their career. Now, there definitely players out there that are in their 30s that could be a handful, but they have to be players that are accustomed to the fast style playing in of football in the Premier League, because a lot of these guys play in this Italian league, which is much slower. Also, you could if you look at the recent players that have come in, not no one's coming for money. That's partly what most people would, especially if you're rival fans. That's something that people use to like banter us with, right? Like we have this huge wage bill that we're paying Sanchez like near half a million, but now we're getting players that are willing to play for less than 100K. In fact, Bruno literally is under 100K, and like I'm not even sure if Aaron Wan-Bissaka or Daniel James are earning 75K. And then you look at Harry Maguire; he's not even earning close to 200K. Although he probably deserves to, but he isn't. So as you can see, not no player is actually coming to Man United now for money. They're coming for the right reasons, which are the footballing reasons, to win titles, to improve the team, and grow as players. We weren't getting that before. You like Sanchez, I'm pretty sure didn't come to Man United for uh, footballing reasons. He came here to collect his last paycheck, and now we're paying the price. Now the transfer strategy that Manchester United currently have is like they're trying to get players in the 20 to 25 age mark, and the idea behind that is to basically have a squad uh, who are around the same age mark, so they could develop together, and that way you're gonna have rather than individual players progressing in their careers and declining real quickly. You're gonna have like the whole squad go through that phase at once. That way, you're not gonna have an individual brilliance and then rest of your squad is pretty much average. This way, you're gonna have a pretty class squad. Um, that's a pretty good strategy, but we have to make sure we do this for 2 to 3 windows, like Liverpool and City have done. So that's the only reason why I would say we still have to be a bit cautious, because with the Glazers and everything, this could go sideways anytime. Because let's face it, as good as things might be at this moment in time, it's hard to trust a club. Now, I'm gonna move on to my second point, but if you wanna know more about the new change in transfer and recruitment strategy uh, of Man United, I'm gonna leave 2 articles in the descriptions from Manchester Evening News. You could check them out. Yeah, make sure to check them out. By the way, they're really good articles. Now, in the previous point, I mentioned that players want to come for the right reasons. Um, a good example of this is Bruno. Um, Bruno said like one of the factors that made him come to Man United was because Solskjaer really believed in him, and that belief drive is currently driving him to perform beyond measures on the pitch to make sure he could restore that belief that Solskjaer has shown in him towards him. That's something that in the past you didn't get with players. You wouldn't hear Zlatan, who's basically worshipped Mourinho in his career. You didn't hear him say he came to Man United because of Mourinho. His reason to join Man United was because we as a club matched his ego. That's basically what his reasoning was. We're finally seeing players join Man United because of the manager. That itself is huge. And it's not only Bruno. Recently, Aaron Wan-Bissaka has come out and said how much his game has improved under Solskjaer, and it might be a small margin of improvement, but even a small margin of improvement is huge. So players are improving now when they come to Man United. Before that wasn't happening. You're actually now seeing players develop into better players. Rashford and Martial are having their best seasons ever. For example, and then you look at some of the youths he's uh, brought in into the first team. So it is remarkable. Now, look, we're probably going to be bantered by rival fans quite a lot. Um, that honestly doesn't bother me. I kind of do that myself. I understand why most fans do that, and I myself probably I still have my doubts about the direction we're going to be taking forward because the Glazers and Woodward are still at the club, so it's kind of hard to trust any direction the club takes. But if we get Sancho, this is going to be like a huge turning point for this club, and I think Sancho is going to be uh, is a very good possibility for Man United because we are forward heaven, and I'll talk about that in the third point. But yeah, to sum it up, in this point, I basically uh, I talked about like how Solskjaer finally has developed a pulling power as a manager, which something despite Mourinho's track record as a manager, he failed to develop. He might have won the Europa League and the League Cup, but um, barring Lukaku, it's not like we were able to get Griezmann or some big player after winning those trophies. We never built on that success. Right now, we're starting to build on our recruitment success. In the summer, we got Maguire, mm, James, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka, but in January, we managed to add um, Bruno. In the summer, if we get Sancho, so yeah, he has developed that pulling power. That's something no manager in the poster Alex Ferguson era has ever managed to develop. So that itself is remarkable. Okay, so in the third point, I'm going to be talking about the change in culture of the football club, and this is also huge. People kind of overlook this a lot, but the culture of this club has changed under Solskjaer. Before Solskjaer came, people would, uh, especially in the media, people would target our players, target the club, even the manager. But since he's come, that's not happening as much. Sure, Paul Pogba gets targeted a lot, especially by Graham Souness, but that's because he's a big personality. But you don't see the likes of Rashford, Martial, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, even David De Gea to an extent. They don't; these players don't get slated, and I can name many more. But that he's kind of changed the ethos of the club. The players at the club are more driven to perform on the football side than on social media. In fact, even Jesse Lingard, who's a social media star of the football club, even he's limited his activity on social media, and that might be down to the fact that Solskjaer is more strict about that than the previous managers. In fact, he had a long conversation with Lingard over the what he did last summer with his Snapchat stories and stuff. So he's changed the idea and the work ethic of the players. Players uh, are more concerned about the football side of things, and that's why a lot of players have even improved. Uh, I mentioned before that like Rashford and Martial are literally having their best seasons of their career. That's partly down to the fact that Solskjaer has worked really hard on these guys, and that's what I'm saying. Like Man United is heaven for forwards. You look at Greenwood; he's like scored more goals than a lot of a lot of players in the Premier League. I'm pretty sure he scored more goals than Pepe and Lacazette combined. So you bring in Sancho. That's one thing. That's one thing Sancho's gonna look at when he's deciding between the clubs. He's gonna see that like well, Rashford and Martial have had a good season. Greenwood's 18 and he's developing pretty well. Uh, he's gonna look at that and he's gonna be like, hmm, that kind of does look tasty. I am a if you're agreeing with, you're like, well, I am a forward, and Solskjaer was one of the best strikers at coming uh, late into the box and scoring. So he could definitely improve his finishing. And Sancho's already a good player. He could go to a new level under Solskjaer. I truly believe that. In regards to the culture and like the mood of the players. Before, if we looked at players at the club, well, they were mostly moody and they it was kind of depressing watching them on the pitch. But now they enjoy themselves. Like I could just look at the City game recently, for example. They were literally enjoying themselves on the pitch. Uh, so these guys actually enjoy playing football now. Before, I wasn't seeing that. And one of the things like I you have to give Solskjaer credit for here is he doesn't let his grudges with players get in the way. Uh, in the past, we've seen Mourinho bench Paul Pogba because of his personal rivalry with him. But despite the fact that Solskjaer did have a falling out with Matic, he's brought him in crucial games, and Matic's actually performed for him. So Solskjaer, even if he doesn't rate you, he's gonna give you chances. That's that wasn't happening in previous managers. Previous managers never like Van Hal and Mourinho. They might have been very good managers back in the day, but uh, in these modern times, you have to be solid with your players, which they weren't. They would literally let their egos get in the way, which which is why Solskjaer is a great person for us because he doesn't let his ego get in the way. Now, I'm gonna talk about three things Solskjaer needs to work on because obviously he's not a perfect manager yet. Because if he was, he'd have teams lining up for him. So the three things I would say Solskjaer still needs to work on is, well, he needs to win more trophies for starters because part of being a manager for Manchester United involves me winning trophies. Otherwise, why are you here? Um, the second thing he needs to work on is consistency. That's something I haven't seen since Sir Alex Ferguson. So uh, it's got to start now or never, right? If we're gonna challenge for the Premier League, we have to be consistent. And the third thing is, I guess, a style of play. So sometimes we might we see a particular way we play against the big six, but I want to see a more entertaining form of football against the lower half of the teams, and that's definitely something he could probably work on, and I'm pretty sure he's trying to work on because I've heard him say he's he himself is not happy with how we play, and he plans to change that. So I know he's gonna change that. Now, moving away from Solskjaer to the man who was tipped to replace him, Pochettino. Yes, let's talk about what next for Pochettino. So Pochettino won't be managing Manchester United anytime soon. And don't believe me. This is honestly I do believe that, but this is actually coming from someone who's actually in Pochettino's camp, Graham Ballagay. But the question I'm going to ask you guys is, where do you think Pochettino is going to go next? Well, for starters, I don't think he's going to go to Bayern because Bayern rejected him. Juventus is a possibility, but Juventus is going to win the Serie A anytime soon now because they win and they'll probably win the next year as well. A year later after that, and uh, they're looking very good for Champions League. So I don't see them sacking their manager anytime soon. And it's not going to be the Real Madrid because let's face it, they're not going to get rid of Zinedine Zidane because they look much better with him as manager than previously, and it's not going to be the Manchester United because the club clearly trusts in Solskjaer, and Solskjaer is probably going to be around for a while, whether you like it or not. And it's not going to be the Barcelona, even though as much as that would be perfect for him, it's not going to be Barcelona because he hates Barcelona. That's probably the last team he's probably gonna. I'm pretty sure if Barcelona was the last team on this planet to manage, he probably quit management. So it's not going to be Barcelona, Real, Juve, Bayern. This guy was. I heard many people say he's going to have clubs lining up for him left, right, and center. But right now, I don't see any club going in for him. So where could he possibly go? Well, I look at the situation with Tottenham Hotspur. It's not looking good with Mourinho at the moment, but obviously it could change. But I also know Mourinho's track record with clubs, so um, this could be potentially somewhere Pochettino could end up. He could end up back at Spurs, and I know many Spurs fans would probably love that. But I think the most likeliest scenario for Pochettino is probably to uh, end up at Newcastle, especially with their new takeover. It's like literally the perfect job for him. He's good with developing clubs from um, a very low point to a high point. He got Spurs from being a mid-table club into regulars in the Champions League. That's huge. So think what he could do with Newcastle, especially with a lot of funds to spend. This would be like the perfect job for him. So where will Pochettino end up? Well, I think it might be Newcastle or it might be Spurs. It's gonna be one of those two, right? Okay, so the last thing before um we end this video, um the Twitter moments. Enjoy. So those were the Twitter moments. I hope you guys enjoyed. That's gonna be the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe, um, see the previous videos for this segment, and if you enjoyed, let me know what else I could talk about in further episodes. Cheers.